future doesn't have to equal your past. It took me a while to figure that out, but Paul really helped me with that. And this is my quote. I added this one because I believe it. I said, live for the moment and be the best that you can be. Right? Live for the moment. Enjoy what it is you're doing, both personally and professionally. But be the best that you can be. You know, when I coach my boys, you want me to play double A? I want you to be the best hockey player that you can be. I want you to be the best student you can be. If being the best student is a B student, great. But be the best that you can be in something. But don't ever forget that we're only on this earth for a short period of time. So make sure that you live in the moment and enjoy the time you spend with people and enjoy what you do. So with that, I thank you again, Jim, for being here.
Taking questions still?
Absolutely.
I thought you might like to share with our members your experience with our recruiter workshop, Mr. Mike Stone.
Oh, geez, yeah. So, as part of the benefit that you have being with Happen, you get to leverage all the great resources that that Jim and the team have put together, and one of them was Pivotal HR Solutions, correct? Mike Salvetta. Has anyone met Mike before? Yeah. You should all meet Mike. Yeah. He's humbling. So I meet with Mike, and if he was here, I would give him props. So remember I talked about the coach and the boss that you respected that you didn't like? That's Mike, right? So I go to this forum, and there was only a couple of us there at the time, and he was really helping us with a few things. One, he was helping us with our exit story on why it is we left the company that we left. And then the other thing he was helping us understand is that when you're going through an interview process, some of the questions and how you get prepared for interviews. So after the first 10 minutes of meeting him, I was this close of getting off my chair and walking out. I found him to be the most obnoxious person I've ever met in my life. And I'm going, this guy's a... Yeah. So I go, and the reason why I say that is because I had no exit story. I had no... So he says to me, oh, hi Steve, why'd you leave Brandon Toy? And I explain, he goes, you got fired. And I go, how did he know that? He goes, it was easy. You're like, well, there was a change in direction, strategy, and I actually, you're fired. I'm like, how did you know that? He goes, I know. So he hit me. He did the Rocky Balboa, right? So as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, Steve, you believe in Rocky. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can hit. Keep moving forward. Keep taking the punches from Mike. It's hurting. And he helped me develop a very clear, articulate strategy or story as to why I left Grandin Toy. Then he also helped me with some really pointed interview questions and questions that I could ask back to the potential employer. And after I left that meeting, I was like, I went, on a roller coaster of finding him the most, irritating person I've ever met with since I joined Happen to someone that helped me articulate why it is I left Grandin Toy. And I give him, if he was here, I give 100. I sent him an email. I think I copied Jim. I said, you know what, Mike, after reflecting on our meeting, you know what, I didn't think I wanted to thank you, but actually I do. And I went on to tell him why that was, right? So I think that Jim's point, take advantage of all the tools and the people that you have within Happen and within other organizations. And I think that's the one benefit that I went to see everybody. I went to see every meeting. I went to meet Mike Salvetta. I took it all in. And I went through a bit of a roller coaster ride, but I think the investment of time that I put into my transition has helped me not only in finding a job, but it's helped me become a better person, it's helped me become a better leader, and it's also helped me give back a lot of the things that I've learned to people like yourself. So.
You also got to tell them that you signed up to go back again.
Oh yeah?
You asked to go back again for more money.
I went for more. I went back in the ring. I go, I got him this time. And he's good at what he's done. He's done it for many, many years. But then here, someone went to him and said, well, I didn't like his approach. I go, who cares? Did he make you better? I don't know. People have to get through the personal side of it. What was the goal? The goal is to help you get through transition and make you better. Did he do that? Yes, but. No buts. He did what a coach and a tough person did. He helped you. And I think that's why it's difficult for us to separate how we feel when people talk to us like that. But if you have a clear plan and a goal as it is as to what you want to do, and I challenge you all, do you have a good articulation as to why you are no longer with your employer? I'll tell you right now, half you don't. To be honest with you, half you don't. And you leave around, I do. No, you don't. And if you do, good for you, but I challenge you, you don't. Mike is very, very good at that. He helps people. And guess what? It builds more confidence, because when he does tell you about things, you provide examples of the things that you did while you were at your job, and guess what? It changes the conversation. So tell me more about that, Steve, when you did that. When I do my exit, why I left Grand and Toy with recruiters and people, we talk about the things that I did when I was there. And they go, can you explain more about that restructuring of the sales support team that you talked about when you were there? So let me give you a little bit of what it was. So I was brought into Grand and Toy 4 years ago to build a sales strategy and restructure and transform the sales organization. Office Products is a commodity business, and they were looking at someone to come in and build a solution selling organization. It was a 125-year-old organization. Grand and Toy had no sales strategy, they had no structure, they had no systems. They would buy office product dealers across Canada, they would slap a logo on them. So they wanted someone to come in that had a good understanding of how to build a world-class sales team. I took my corporate executive board, 23 key attributes, I bring this with me, and I said, here's 23 key attributes that make up a world-class sales organization. I said, over the first 3 months, we went through a process and and we did and they're like going, so when you did that national accounts restructure, can you talk a bit more about that, Steve? I never get to the end part. And if I do get to the end part, there was a fundamental change in the CEO and the organization directly, which was an elimination in my role. And it truly was divided. Did they offer you one of those roles? I go, no, they did not. Done. But you're able to tell people I think the key thing for me is you're able to tell people what it is you did when you were at that company. Versus, I'll get to why I left. But I go to, well, 4 years ago, I was brought into the organization to help rebuild a sales strategy, process, and design. Because I'm not sure if you know, but Grand and Toy is a 125-year-old. So I tell the story. And they say, and then they go, well, Steve, yeah, can you tell us? I said, with all due respect, I'll get to the fact as to why I'm no longer with the company, but let me spend the next few minutes explaining to me why I brought and what I did, and then why I left. So it's how you position it, right? So you can answer the question, but you can just take the time to answer the question by providing it when you joined the company, what you did, what value you added, what you love doing, and I really enjoy doing this, and I found a passion for this. You can exude those examples. And then you can get to the reason as to why, whether it was downsizing, whether it was fundamental disagreement in strategy, whether it was a new strategy. But the impression you will leave with the employer is all the things that you did when you got there. And isn't that the impression you want to leave with them? Right? Well, I was downsized and they outsourced the sales support to the US, so my job was eliminated. Okay, well good. You can say that at the end. But why don't you say, when I joined the company, they were looking for a sales supervisor to manage the call center team. Because at the time, they didn't have blah, blah, blah. And we implemented the following things. And then there was a new CEO who restructured and downsized and cut it, and then it was moved to India or wherever. But don't forget to tell those things that you did when you joined that company. And I'll tell you one thing, practice it. Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. Right? What does Abraham Lincoln said about chopping down a tree? If you had 8 hours to chop a tree down, he'd spend what? 7 hours sharpening his axe and an hour chopping the tree? So practice your exit story, because it can be powerful. Very, very powerful when you meet people, because you'll be able to tell them about the things that you've done and what you love doing. You can get to the reason why you're gone. Tell them all the good things that you did. Yes, Paul?
I think what a great public example of what you were talking about, executives or people being, trashed out and you've done your job, if you look at, I'm not a Maple Leafs fan, by the way.
What? They're playing tomorrow night!
Exactly. Now, but look at that particular situation. Brian Burke was the guy who hired Randy Caroline. That whole team is Brian Burke's. Brian Burke pushed at the front office.
Yep.
Where did he end up? Out.
Yep.
Now, all of you are all so excited. Like, who thinks of Brian Burke in this whole thing? Right? And he's probably sitting back, thinking, just like you were, transition, I'm in transition right now, what am I going to do? This is what I love doing, here's my freaking team, they're doing so great, everybody's talking about, who's talking about me? Mm-hmm. And there's a perfect example of that.
And if Brian Burke was interviewed for a job, he'd say, I was brought into the Toronto Maple Leafs
Yes.
4 years ago.
Exactly.
Right? And he had and you know what? Again, style, unique, a plan. He had a plan. He goes, I need 6 goal scorers, 6 checkers, and 6 plumbers. We're going to be much tougher. Like, I remember him articulating, and I go, like his plan or not, he had one. And guess what? Was he working hard? You know, sometimes you're not working hard enough to get fired. He worked his plan.
Exactly what he did. Yeah,
and it was the right plan. He's just unique personality. And sometimes that happens. Personalities clash with people. I had to get that.
But unfortunately, they're going out. They will meet much.
No way. How much you want? What are we going to bet? $5?
Yeah.
Lunch? We'll bet lunch?
Lunch, yes.
Lunch?
You
Okay.
bring the beans.
Yeah. We'll bet lunch.
Absolutely.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, you rattled off a bunch of things you did for Jen, but it was a little bit too fast.
Sure, okay.
So, like reading books. So what was kind of your goals for the month or for the week?
For the week, yeah.
Well, you said total month, but then.
What drives us nuts, we asked what a lot of people have done, and
Mhm.
I think Alan mentioned this, he says, you know, only 4 hands went up or something.
Mhm.
What did you do, what the rest of the people do for that week?
So-
They can't believe they sat in front of their computer.
I was probably, because remember when we got back from Europe, and I'll answer your question, and Anna says, so what are you going to do now? You got 2.5 weeks left before you work. I go, I got 25 meetings set up. She's like, what? I go, I have 25 networks. So even though I knew I was working, I had 25 people that I had wanted to meet with, and that was pure networking. But my plan evolved over time. So again, when I was building my plan, it was about I want to understand and master the art of transition. So my plan was every Tuesday and Wednesday I would go to my Happen meetings and buy everyone's flippin' book, an article that they produce, whether I thought the speaker was great or not. Right? Then as I started to get involved in understanding what transition was all about, and I read Paul Hill's book, then I started spending 2 hours every morning on social media. So I added that to my plan. And I started saying, okay, well, I am going to send some resumes out and connect with some people that I know that maybe I can network with. So I had a plan of sending out 5 to 7 of those every week. So my plan evolved over time from not knowing anything, but as I got more information, my monthly plan and my weekly plan grew and grew and grew and grew. Right? Then I had times just to network with people that had been through transition. So I wanted to meet a minimum of 5 people a week that had been through a transition before. Why 5? I don't know. Did I meet with 5 people? And what did I want to do when I met with them? I had a plan. I just want to meet with you. Thank you so much. I'm just here to understand about transition, and thank you for connecting with me through another person. Can you explain to me what it is you went through and how you went through it? And if you were in my shoes, what would you do differently? Write it all down. Thank you so much. Right? You're looking for a job? I said, yes, I am looking for a role at some point in time, but I really, I appreciate your time. I'm trying to, and I would explain to them, here's what I've done. I'm trying to map, and they go, wow, that's a really unique approach. I said, well, it's an approach that I'm taking. But my goal is to be able to understand and transition what it is all about. But I did do resumes out to recruiters, and I did have that I wanted to hear back from, at least half of the people that I sent resumes to, and that was read every single week. I didn't hear back from anybody. So then I adjusted my plan for the next month to say, well, this is not working, right? So it wasn't like I had a 6-month plan and then every time, like if things got read for 4 weeks, I stopped and I said, this is not working. So then, keep reading, connecting with people, coming to my meetings, talking to people. So what have you done? Oh, how long have you been in transition for? What do you find the most challenging thing is? Oh, well, interesting. What about yourself? This is your first time? Yeah, it's my first time. How are you finding it hard? Yeah, so am I. Just to connect with people, right? Here's the things that I'm doing, Oh, wow, can I borrow that? Sure, you can borrow that. What are you guys doing with the network? So I would learn and continue to, my plan would evolve over time, right? From the things that I was doing well to the things that I wasn't doing well at all. And social media was another thing. I read lots of books on social media because I realized when I read Paul's book, I had no idea what social media, I had none, like 0. I probably read 3 or 4 books on social media. So that became part of my plan. Finish reading the book on social media this week. And sometimes I didn't do it, so I'd have to crash course read it on the weekend because I didn't do it. Right? Yes?
Steve, how did you include your live for the moment activities? You showed us vacations in Europe, and sailing, etc. How did you put that in your plan?
So I had it as a part of my plan. So for the summer, I said to Anna, and I said, well, I really want to do something special this summer. I said, I don't know what it is, and keep in mind, my goal was to start work in January of this year. Like, so I said September, but realistically, I was like, really? I wanted to take the whole year off. But I didn't want to take it off and just, you know, people said, what'd you do? Nothing, right? But I didn't want to do it. So when I met with someone that went through transition, they said to me, Steve, they said, you know, one of the things I didn't do well, but someone mentioned this to me, what, have a bucket list. Have things that be really cool to do. And I'm like, what? And he told me like skydiving. I'm not going to skydive. Bungee jumping. I go, are you kidding me? And one person said, coffee with my wife every Sunday, because we never have the time. I was like, so again, it doesn't have to be expensive. So when I wrote down all the things that I knew I loved to do, but I didn't have the time to do, then I started plotting those out on a larger calendar, right? So we decided that we were going to go to Europe. So I plugged those, you know, 10 days in my calendar. I plugged sailing with my buddy in July for 3 days. And I said, okay, now I have to start working around the, you know, the things that I did personally, and making sure that I wasn't, you know, veering away from the whole goal of networking and spending the time in my transition as well. So I actually selfishly, I put those in first, and then I put everything else on top of it. But as I said to you when I first started my my speaking, I said it was going through transition, and this was I'm not gonna say twice as hard, but it was definitely much more difficult and required much more work than I ever thought it would. Yes.
Hi, Steve. Ron Jones, thank you for sharing your story. I think it was mentioned, the Extreme Bean. I've tried the product. I want to hear the story about that. How did you transition to that?
Yeah, so again, through networking, someone that I was golfing with said, hey, you should go talk to Matt and Steve. They're really cool guys. They sell beans. I'm like, okay. So I went golfing with Matt, and we started talking, and I got along with him very well. And I said, so what do you do? He says, oh, I sell beans. I said, oh, good for you. How's it going? Good. Yeah, good. I said, what kind of beans you sell? He goes, pickled beans. I'm like, really? Good. Good for you. Good luck with that. And he told me the story. He says, oh, his best friend and him started a business, well, created the product in 2000. They were bartenders at the Keg, and they were selling a lot of Caesars across the bar, and they felt that there could be a much more unique product than a celery stick to go into Caesars. So they decided to come up with a pickled bean. They said a bean, and then Matt says, no, we have to pickle it. So they phoned his mother, and they said, how do you pickle stuff? So they would make them in their apartments. They would boil water and vinegar on their stoves, and they'd put them in jars, and jars would blow up and explode. They had no idea how to make product. Then they started making it, and people actually started to like it. And so one of their customers, you know, Gordon Food Services, would order, their biggest order was like 10 cases. They said, oh, that would take them all weekend to do. And then all of a sudden, Gordon Food Services wanted 20 cases. They're like, we can't make 20 cases. That would take a week. So they went to Gordon, bought the 10 cases they just sent them. Right? So they bought the 10 cases back. They went to the store, made 10 cases more, gave them 20, and then they wanted 60. So they're like going, 60? How the hell are we going to make 60? So the product, they went coast to coast across Canada at every major trade and consumer show, sampling it everywhere, and it caught on with respect to being the garnish that now goes into Caesars. So Sobeys Ontario picked up the product about 2 years ago, and these stores are selling anywhere from like 3 to 10 cases per month. So when I met with them, they said, we need somebody. They're phenomenal. Like, whether I work there for the next 10 years or not, I hope I always stay connected with them, because they're really down-to-earth guys. They go, Steve, we have no idea what we're doing right now. I go, what's your pricing like? They go, I don't know, we just priced it based upon we want to make some money. So you have no pricing? What about the consumer? He goes, I don't know, it seems to sell at $4.99, but I don't know. We're pricing it because we need to pay our bills. They've done a great job from a production in the facility. They make great products. Every day you know exactly what's made and what it costs. But they had no idea how to take this brand to retail, to market. They had no idea how to negotiate with large retailers like Loblaws and Walmart and Costco and Target. So they were looking to bring somebody in to help them understand how to bring it to market. And as I met with them, I said, look guys, I'm not going to join your company as the VP of sales. I want to join it and become part of that company. So if you're interested in having me come in, let's date before we get married. I'd be happy to do that. We're going through the process of getting engaged, I guess, and potentially getting married. And I hope that works out. And if it doesn't, then I respect them and I wish them all the best. But I've been able to, we had meetings last week with Target and Walmart. Both of them now want to carry the product. Loblaws just picked it up in the fall of last year. They rolled it out to all their stores. Metro, we're in 50 stores in Ontario. We're having a conversation with Loblaws about Quebec. And we got listed in Safeway, Overweight, and Sobeys out in Western Canada. And yeah, it's been, it's so different. I mean, you come from a large corporation. I mean, like, there's Matt, Steve, and Steve. There's how many people in the company? We go 3. And a bunch of people in the back and a production guy. So you do everything on your own. You answer the phone, you do faxes, orders, everything. But to be part of a business that's growing, like a growing business. You know, yeah, I get Metro phones like every flipping day, need 15 cases, need 10 cases, need 20 cases. And not once has anyone said we need a better price. Loblaws called us, they said we need $297,000 in listing fees to list your 3 products. And I'm like, hello? Yeah, sorry, 290, like seriously. They said, yep, that's our rack rate. $297,000 to list 3 SKUs. I won't tell you what we paid, because I'm not able to, but it was significantly less. Because all of these stores kept calling head office and saying, you gotta list this product, you gotta list this product, you gotta list this product. There's been so much pent-up demand at food service and restaurants that grocery stores are now carrying the product, right? And now retailers are, like, think about it, anyone work in CPG before and calling the majors? Like, hello, how hard is it? They're calling us. We'd like to meet with you. When? Maybe next week. No, we're not that way. We're being brought into conversations with retailers. Walmart, we met with, they go, yeah, we're going to roll it out in 30 stores in Ontario. I'm like, and the boys are like, wow. I go, guys, this doesn't happen that often, trust me. But it's been nice to be part of something. Again, I love growing, I love rebuilding, I love restructuring. I'm not a manage what is kind of person. I like to create what could be, whether that's in a large company or a small company. And I'm learning a ton because within the small business, for those of you that have been in small business, you touch everything. You touch, you know, buying, you touch distribution, you touch production, you touch marketing, you touch sales, you touch everything. You have to be a kind of a jack of all trades. So I'm getting, you put yourself in an uncomfortable role. Working in a small business is very uncomfortable because you have to do a lot of the things that you've never done before. But again, I've built new skills and new experiences that I think are going to help me in the next 3 or 4 roles, because I probably will have 3 or 4 more roles in my next 20 years. But I've never ever stopped learning, and I tell my boys that all the time. Never, ever, ever stop learning. When you're done school, you'll be learning more. Yes?
You just shared something I had jotted down to myself is sort of a note to myself. Learning how to convince people or getting over my own personal concern of being a jack of all trades. I've always been small business, and so I'm very much a jack of all trades. So I'm curious, now that you've seen both sides, in that 3, 5, 10 years when you're transitioning yourself again, how do you see yourself selling the good skills you've now gained of becoming a jack of all trades to a big company that's not used to that?
Yeah, and I would say my answer, I don't know. And I'll be honest, I don't. But I said, I'll find out, right? No, I mean that. That's a great question, and I don't know, right? The old Steve Johnston would have started articulating it and would have butchered it. The new one would have said, great question, got to figure it out, don't know. Because I've only been there 7, 8 months. So I'm still learning.
Let's stay connected, you and I can learn it.
Yeah, 100%. But those are the types of things that I would actually seek out people in this room and other people. Said, hey, you've done that before. So again, I'm not a master of knowing everything. I'm aware of things, but that's a great question, and that's something that I'll leave today going, you know what, right in the back of my book, I need to figure out a way, and I will, on when I worked for a small company, what I learned and how I can actually transfer that learning experiences back. And I'm sure there'll be someone like a Mike Salvetta, maybe I can go back to see Mike, right? Come on, Mike, I got you this time, right? But that's a great question. Yeah. Yes? Mentoring, in my opinion, is someone that provides feedback and insight on specific things that they've done before. Coaching, in my mind, is more specifically direct, where you have an accountability to make sure that that person does what it is they need to do. So, that's been a short answer. So I mentor people. you know, I think I'm going to join the board of Meadowvale Hockey because I don't have anything else to do in my time. But I understand why players go to coaches, coaches go to general managers go to presidents of company. Like, I've coached for 5 years, and I want to move off of coaching, not because I don't love spending time with my boys, but I want to work on the Meadowvale board now and help Meadowvale become a better hockey association. So I think I'm going to take on more of a mentoring role to coaches, which is that I can suggest things that you need to do, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. You know, you can choose to do it. Here's some things that I've thought about. They can call me if they have issues with parents and dealing with it. But I think, in my opinion, a coach is someone that has a responsibility to make sure that that player or that person executes their plan and be the best they can be, and have those tough conversations with her. A mentor to me is someone that, suggests something, but is not directly accountable for the results of that player or that person. Whereas a coach is, look at hockey, coach's job, picks a team, coaches a team, disciplines a team, has a clear role to her. And a mentor, in my mind, is just someone that can provide wisdom and insight and experiences that they've had before. And those people that have a